Okay, so as they take a break, let me bring in the trial attorney team. I'm here again with Janine Atamian, but also joining us, Gabriel Sepulveda-Sanchez is with us as well. Gabriel, it's good to see you. So let's talk about this. What we have here is a very interesting cross-examination. And what we're seeing is the defense trying to paint this woman as mentally unstable. They're trying to say she was the threat, she was dangerous, that she didn't really feel this fear from Michael Barrasone, and in fact, even suggesting that he was the one who was acting crazy because she drove him crazy. What do you make of this so far, this cross?
This is what you do as a defense attorney. I think even if you take those facts to be true or whatever, even if you go with what the defense attorney is trying to do on cross-examination, I still think it's not enough. I think the key question is whether it was reasonable for the defendant to act in this way and to shoot her twice in the chest. And I just don't see enough being brought out on cross-examination for a jury to acquit him of this case. So in the end, I don't think it's enough. There's other things he could have done. He could have hit her. He could have tried, wrestling her or choking her. He didn't have to shoot her. I don't think there's enough facts coming out in testimony that warrants the defendant shooting her twice in the chest. It's just not enough.
Janine, I feel like you're going to disagree here. Yeah, Janine's shaking her head. Let's hear what Janine has to say.
You always disagree every time.
Absolutely not. She is an absolute disaster on the stand. She just backpedals. I mean, at one point she said it was her plan to get him thrown out of the stables. And 2 seconds later, she's like, well, no, I didn't know that that's what would happen. I mean, on and on. Her boyfriend's the one doing the contractual work for the renovation. And she reports that as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one thing after another. And we haven't even gotten to like the really bad stuff, which we heard during opening. And that is that she also called child services and reported him as sexually molesting his girlfriend's son. This woman did a lot to this man. And we're looking at her on the stand. She comes across as totally unbelievable, untrustworthy. She seems like an absolute snake. And then you can compare that with the defendant who's sitting there. He's like a broken man. This is a former Olympian. He was the coach for the dressage team. I think he was her coach at one time. He's sitting there with his head in his hands. He was sobbing during opening. Now, I think that this is a terrible witness.
So, Gabriel, I'll give you a chance to respond to that, because really what's interesting here is the state is obviously going to have an opportunity to redirect and ask more questions to their witness, Lauren Kanarak. But, Janine has been very adamant in terms of the problems and the weaknesses in her testimony that the state is relying on. To have a surviving victim testify is huge for the state.
Definitely. I mean, I agree to an extent. She doesn't come off very well. She doesn't. But at the end of the day, was this enough? Was it reasonable for him to shoot her twice in the chest? I don't think it isn't. So at the end of the day, that's the question, is whether it was reasonable or not for him to act like that. So
well, we're starting to still understand exactly how this confrontation happened. Remember, we keep saying it, that when police arrived, Goodwin was on top of the defendant. She testified that even though she was shot, she was able to hit the defendant with the phone. We're still trying to understand exactly how the shooting happened and how this escalated to the point it came to, and we're taking her word for it. We're going to maybe hear more testimony. We obviously, hopefully, we'll hear from Robert Goodwin. So let's take a break. When we come back, we'll carefully monitor what's happening in the Barrasone trial. Stay with us.